Panel from Tel Aviv with two more ConTech startups and one venture capital. Please welcome Dima Haikin, the CEO and founder of ConWize. Dima has over 14 years of experience in the construction industry, leading high-visibility business-critical IT projects, including successful ERP projects in public construction companies. He also managed the IT department of a public construction company. Izhak Paz is the CEO and founder of Safeguard, a company committed to protecting the lives of workers around the world by delivering real-time insights that can prevent the next safety accident. Safeguard designs, develops, and supplies real-time safety management tools and applications for a variety of industries worldwide. Prior to founding Safeguard, it's two other California-based startups in the healthcare sector. Interesting move. Also joining us is Oded Eliashiv, one of the managing partners of BuildUp Ventures. Oded leads the BuildUp Ventures team in identifying, choosing, and leading the best startups Israel has to offer on their journey to success. An entrepreneur since birth, Oded has founded and led several startups to success, including IPOs. And Fishelson is the head of technology scouting services at Deloitte Catalyst Israel. He leads the delivery team supporting global and Israeli corporates who are looking to engage and partner with the Israeli innovation ecosystem. Before joining Deloitte, Uri led the technology scouting investments and partnerships activities for BASF in Israel. Wow. Okay, my name is Aviv Frenkel, and I will lead this panel. After 20 years in Israel national media, including as a senior tech and automotive correspondent and anchorman, I've decided to become an entrepreneur myself. Today, I'm the CEO and co-founder of En Route, a startup in the smart mobility ecosystem, and I'll be happy to share also my perspective as an entrepreneur in this panel as well. So, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Dima, let's start with you maybe. After the first wave of construction tech startups, we understand that the major challenge is the implementation process of the technology within corporations. What are the biggest challenges you are facing while implementing the digitization process with construction corporation? What is its uniqueness?
As an early stage startup, the biggest challenge for successful implementation is first of all to find the right first customers, the right construction companies to start working with. But it's not enough. As we all know, it is all about people. So you must find the right partners within the construction company.
The champions.
Yes. The people that are, your solution will give them the biggest value and that they're open for changes. Eventually, your success or failure depends on the ability to deliver meaningful value for your customers in a short period of time. At ConWize, we work with standard departments. This is the most secret departments in construction companies. So the uniqueness that we feel is that there is no place for any errors. We must approach our customers only when we have a solution that covers all major parts of tendering process. The implementation period must be short. We must provide first-class support. And of course, we have to be ready to run fast, be able to make changes and add-ons to the product with short deadlines. So, and I believe that these tips can be applied also to other startups in the construction tech industry.
How difficult is it to penetrate these companies, these sometimes old school companies?
Yes, this is why you need to choose the right places to start a pilot, and even better to start multiple pilots, because there is a human factor. Not everything will succeed from day one. So we need to make few pilots, and hopefully some of them will succeed in first stage.
And convert to being paying customers, right?
Exactly.
Talking about the human factor, it's like why safety is one of the biggest pains of this industry, and how do you help change the pain into a gain?
That's a good question. First of all, safety is massive in construction. In the US, we can see that it's growing year after year, the incident and accidents. And from our experience, the reason is that the way safety is managed around the world and with the technologies available today is in segmented processes. It means that it's not accumulated to one safety comprehensive, and all the process of management is divided between many departments. And also the nature of the industry, that it's dependent on foreign worker and a lot of transition within the construction sites that create a lot of uncertainty and continuity. And we identify also a very big issue in being able to create one ecosystem that can deal with all of that. And the way to deal and convert it to gain is by putting together a complete operational solution that accumulate all the factors that can impact safety, but also connect to the business mainstream connectivity and productivity, and not just forms and paperless, but also to be able to attach your product to other aspects of the operation. The solution need to be comprehensive with a complete ecosystem that can touch the regulator, can touch the training and education, can touch insurance companies, can touch subcontractors. So you need to be able that the solution can impact or integrate with all this ecosystem. And I think the last factor is the technology that need to deal with that need to be a platform rather a software or specific solution, because the platform can accumulate a lot of technologies, built-in technologies or external, like integration with smart cameras, sensors, a lot of components into the ecosystem that can provide a complete solution. And I think safety is about real time. And if construction groups in general will understand that it's not about just being compliant, but also converting the ability to manage safety in real time, and then based on that take decision and apply actions toward these decisions, the problem can be solved.
It's a big issue also here in Israel.
Yes, but we see that customers that utilize our platforms, in 2017, about 30% of the severe injuries and fatal injuries belong to our clients, our customer base. And today, in 2020, last year, less than 7% of the injuries belong to our customer base, which also grew. So we see that technology can help, effective technology. And it's also, of course, all these companies invested more in safety and put more into technology to protect the sites, but the technology also reflected to them the effectiveness of the means they input into the site. So we see that a lot of progress was done, and the problem can be solved, can be achieved.
Oded, tell us a bit about BuildUp Ventures, please.
Sure, and also would like to reflect on what these two friends, which I'm very familiar with. BuildUp Ventures is something that back in 2019, I kind of noticed that there was a trend of, innovation, technology trying to get into the real estate arena. And I said I want to be part, of the leading actors here and start, building the ecosystem. So I started with launching a fund that was, motivation was to invest solely in PropTech and Construction Tech companies. And I think during the Corona, we see the acceleration of adoption of technologies because people want to get back to life, they want to get back to business. And I think what Dima said before in respect to choosing the right partner in the construction, I think it's vital because, especially when you're talking about early stage companies, you have to be certain. That's one of our criteria of seeing where to invest is the product market fit. But still, this ecosystem is young. Construction companies, they want to implement a new technology. There are a lot of different missing blocks that are not there yet. Literally, right? Exactly. So in getting a startup into their organization, it's something that requires a lot of understanding that they should be an early adapter, that they're willing to take the risk. That's actually what I'm doing since the Abraham Accords was signed back in September. I'm being in the Emirates, so my agenda is pushing the Israeli tech companies in the PropTech and Construction Tech, and we're doing an amazing job over there. We're going to see paid pilots, by the way, with the biggest players over there, and also safety and efficiency are the two very important things in the construction sites. And I think we have a lot to say here in the startup nation, which is, I think we can call it more scale-up nation. It may be
right now, yeah.
Right, and we're also number one in the world per capita for being a unicorn per capita. So basically, and the real estate arena and the technology getting together is something I believe that we can play a very enormous part in the global sphere.
Why did you decide to focus on PropTech and construction tech?
Well,
No other players in this field?
First, no other players, first and foremost. Second, I've been in this industry, I myself, started a few companies, did exits, succeeded, also failed. And I looked and saw that the evolution of new sectors, new verticals in Israel has a pattern. So I want to be part of this pattern, and I want to be, an influential player. And when we come in and invest, we don't just put capital. We help in the company building with the go-to-market, identifying the product market fit, making sure that there is deep technology or some other aspect that is very important for getting the companies to growth. And helping them get to the markets. I think that's something which is very important, especially when you're talking about early stage. So you see the evolution here in Israel, you see that worldwide, you see how the things are progressing. And I think it's an exciting time here when you see the industry is growing. So for me, from my personal point of perspective, I'm still an entrepreneur, right? So I'm being an entrepreneur from the other side.
You're laughing.
Yes, entrepreneur is a weird life to be entrepreneur because it's you always look out in the window what you can make different. Every day is exciting because you want to push forward, and I see that the spirit, the sense of humor, the optimism. So yeah, it's a charm. It's a kind of charm.
It's a roller coaster, and it's
not all the time it's fun.
Yeah. You
on the roller coaster.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Uri, as one of the largest business consulting firms working with corporates and startups, how do you at Deloitte see the digital revolution in the construction industry here?
Great, Aviv. So first of all, I think it's important to remember that when we look at the construction industry at large, we see the construction industry as lagging behind many of the other industries. At the end of the day, the construction industry is still slow in adopting digital solutions and going through a digital transformation. And that saying actually means that there's a lot of opportunity for growth. And Oded mentioned he was one of the first, and I'm sure we will see more investors coming into this space of construction because as one of the largest industries by far in the world, construction needs these solutions to make it more efficient, safer, and smarter. And this is definitely something that we are seeing. I think where we do see an implementation of technologies, there are different technologies that are sort of in focus right now, and I'm sure we will see many more coming up in the future. Solutions like smart beam systems. Of course, we already had sort of legacy systems in place, but now we're seeing much smarter and more advanced systems, and we will see more and more of that. Technologies like predictive maintenance that allow the actual usage and smarter maintenance of the machinery that people use, that companies use. Solutions like drones that allow for better safety issues, for better efficiency and knowledge of what the actual construction site looks like, and allows the constructor who maybe sits in an office to really have eyes on the ground of what's happening in the construction site and knowing what's going on. And of course, we can't remember the supply chain, which we saw during COVID had a very strong impact on construction, but also practically every other industry. And I think when we look at it in the construction industry, there will be a lot of value in creating smarter systems to allow for on-the-ground monitoring of what's happening with the resources needed by construction companies, and through that allow companies to be more efficient, work quickly, and be on time. One of the bigger problems in the construction industry is finishing and completing solutions on time, and this is something that costs a lot of money both to the construction companies themselves and their clients. And this is somewhere where technology, whether supply chain or the other technologies I mentioned, can play a very important pivotal role in making these things change and making more projects finish on time and allow better usage of resources in this industry. So these are some of the examples in terms of technologies. And maybe one important point I'd like to mention is the topic of partnerships. I think still in the construction industry, risk is an inherent element, and many companies
Risk
still...
averseness.
Exactly. Many companies are still looking to understand how they can mitigate risk when they're implementing technology, while other industries are sort of accepting that risk and saying, okay, this taking and implementing technology is risky, but we accept it, we'll fail some, we'll win some, that's fine. In the construction industry, there's still a learning curve, and to support that, more partnerships are being held, either with one another, so even within competitors, but also up and down the value chain. And these partnerships help mitigate and spread the risk along the industry. And we see more and more of that all over the world. And I think this will definitely be an element that will help more technologies come to maturation and really be implemented.
Guys, why is it so challenging? Because this industry is huge but fragmented. What are the main challenges?
I think first of all, they're conservative, sector, and they're accustomed for decades of working in a certain manner, and
sometimes centuries.
Exactly. I didn't want to say that, but it's true, and basically, it is very, very complicated to bring change. There's so many different components within the organization, and find the system. And we're working with a lot of different construction companies, and they're asking us to also help them with building the methodology of how to bring innovation into their organization. So this is actually what we're doing now in the Emirates, in Dubai, in Abu Dhabi, is because they see a lot of different companies coming in, okay? How do they cope with that? They don't know. They really don't know. So they're trying to strategize their approach. And I think that is also something that we need to understand, and we need to understand that in order for them to be really able to implement, then there needs to be some kind of, we talked about partnerships, right? These kind of partnerships need to be there in place in order to enable them to get those innovations inside in a methodical way. So it's not just about a construction company and a startup. There needs to be some kind of a bridge. And that is part of what we're actually, what I'm trying to do with the different players.
Izhak, you wanted to say?
Yes, the construction sector is project-based. So sometimes construction companies can have a lot of projects simultaneously, and sometimes they can wait a year until they have a new project. So the incentive for them to integrate technology is limited because they have a lot of uncertainty in the way their business works. The second thing is time compression. When I work in a factory, in the industry sector, then the life cycle, 30, 40, 50 years life cycle. Here we have 24 to 36 months of a factory ad hoc that need to execute a project in high capacity of workers and a lot of uncertainty. Now, if you bring in pilot technology that may slow down the project that already have a time constraint, you put at risk sometimes millions, depends on how complicated the technology. So it's not as easy to implement technology in construction companies. Because of this, it's a built-in issue. So the main idea here, the way we see it, they look for incremental innovation. I spoke with Zuri about that also in our previous preparing to this meeting. Incremental innovation, where the solution need to be not as crazy and disruptive, but incremental innovation that it's very easy to implement. They look for financial capabilities. The company that work with them need to show financial strength because they're afraid of risk. By themselves, they are very risky operation, and they want to see experience. And that's the issue of experience need to be understanding when you design the product. And also when we design the product, we design delivery system. And that's related to what you said. Because a product without a delivery system cannot be attached to the construction sector. So that's a problem we have with when we present investors. Investors come and want the SaaS software fast, burnout model. We want to see how it's going fast. But in construction tech, it's not going to work like that because you need to have with the product effective delivery system because you need to implement within a project. And that's something that our investor not completely understand. And investment doesn't really understand how is to build a success in this business. And that's a challenge that we see in the industry. But overall, time help us
to educate the market.
Yes, we technically educated the Israeli market on safety and overall technology. We created the ground for a lot of startups, and it's a big toll to educate industry how to implement, how to utilize. It's serious effort.
Dima.
Yeah, I would like to add two more aspects to this. Construction, one of the things that is unique in it is a lot of stakeholders, owners, managing company, general contractors, subcontractors, suppliers, and you need to make it all work together. And this is one. The second is on the execution stage, the project manager, a lot of tasks is on him. He's in center. So if you come with a pilot and you're not showing him in short period of time big value, you just disturb him to do other stuff that all the running.
So you need to be to the point, you need to be very accurate in the value proposition.
Yeah, and I also believe that you must come with working POC and of course speak the language of the project manager.
Stop the talk and walk on, because you know, and especially this is something that here in the industry we need to understand. Real estate, they talk in a different language. Now, techies, they talk in their language, right? And there needs to be a bridge in understanding. So there are companies, you know, that we see that the entrepreneurs, you know, they're fifth generation builders, you know, but not all of them are there in that kind of language. So basically, it's also very important to reflecting to what you two mentioned before. It's a low-hanging fruit, the right kind of, and keep it simple, you know, KISS. Keep it simple and also stupid sometimes to really get into the organization, put your foot inside, and then you can, you know, build more and more innovation and more technology, but just get inside there with simplicity.
I think Oded mentioned a very important word, which is the bridge. He mentioned the bridge between the techies and the construction veterans. I think another bridge that we encounter very often as an issue is the issue between a startup, the state of mind of a startup, and the state of mind of a corporate, of a large company that's really having a hard time to adjust to the timelines and the language and the needs and the requirements of a startup. I think we oftentimes find ourselves trying to really find a way to match the expectations between the large company and the startup, and creating that, as Oded said, the bridge is really something that can help facilitate an actual connection and a relationship between the two companies. I think this, you know, giant and small company, this tension, dwarf. I think this tension is oftentimes what prevents companies from even starting a process, from even moving from just talking to an actual POC. And once they understand that state of mind, and they understand, very importantly, and it was mentioned here, the value they can get from it. And the value can be money, plain and simple, but the value can be fewer accidents, the value can be better even perception of the company as an innovative company. Many companies say, okay, who do I want to work with? I want to work with innovative companies. We see it everywhere. And this kind of perception comes from working with startups and putting it out there, that you do it, that you work with startups and so on. So I think this is very important in creating that bridge. And we work a lot in doing exactly that, in that education to the startups and the education to the corporates.
And translation.
And
education and translation, right?
Exactly.
So we had an outstanding year in investments, a lot of new unicorns, IPOs, SPACs, etc. So seeing these trends, Oded, what do you anticipate as the main trends of the future? And when will we have the first construction tech unicorn?
It's hard to predict.
Yeah.
I can tell you that you know, I have access to all the deal flow in Israel, and they're amazing things. And we're doing more and more investments. You know, just signed couple more investment agreements recently. The amount of deal flow that is growing and growing in Israel is amazing. When will be the next unicorn? Well, hopefully soon. But the industry is really, and you know, it's important to understand that the technology that are being implemented in the construction tech, they're already here, you know, for many, many years. They're just being packaged and modeled to fit a new sector. So you talk about fintech, you talk about cyber, you talk about mobility. All these things are in this arena, and they're playing an important part here. So I think it'll be sooner than later. We will see some interesting things happening. I can't tell you the names of companies, but I can tell you.
You can, why not?
You have to pay me something. But I'm joking. We're seeing our portfolio companies getting into very serious discussions with industry players that there is a play there for M&As. So it won't take a day or two. It'll take a bit more time. But I'm very optimistic, and I think we have the opportunity of being a global player in this arena.
Guys, what do you think? How does this environment of SPACs and IPOs impact your ecosystem?
It's risky. It's risky to our ecosystem because construction tech at this stage is underpriced. And when you are underpriced, it's very hard to compete on talents. So the technology that you can deliver in order to evolve is very challenging because a construction tech company in certain stage need to move from startup to more robust technologies, and it requires a very, very competent team, very serious experience, cyber protection, a lot of servers, different set of skills that require big money, but the transition of this SPAC that come from a different markets, more fast markets, is impacting companies that their incubation process to become a unicorn probably can be double. Mm-hmm. I don't feel that a unicorn in the ecosystem will be that easy to achieve at this phase because the scalability is harder, but it probably will be double the time. So if I see a unicorn like Iron Source that was unicorn, I think in 12 years, I think unicorn will take the incubation process about 15 years to unicorn to incubate in that in the construction tech ecosystem because of the delivery issues. Mm-hmm. And the value that the market perceive it is different, again, because it's a project-based industry. Mm-hmm. So there is a lot of complex thing in order to get there. And,
Dima?
I think it's, in general, it's a good influence because the traction of the Israeli mind, and it will definitely bring more money also to the construction tech as to other industries.
So it trickles down also to construction tech.
I think a bit.
There's a lot of money. Uri, what do you think?
Well, I think one issue that the construction industry has, or construction tech specifically, it's one of those specific industries where there is an expectation from companies raising money to have already revenues and sometimes even profits. You can see it in agriculture technologies, you can see it sometimes even in food tech. There's an expectation that a very early stage company would already have revenues and profit. And I think this is making it very hard for them to raise more money as opposed to other, if you think fintech or cyber, where you can have an idea or the basic solution and you can already raise large amounts. This changes in some areas. I think in agriculture, for example, there's a shift away from that to understanding the future value. And I think this will, when this happens also in the construction industry, raising money will be faster, and also the path towards an IPO and becoming a unicorn.
I think there will be more and more investors coming in, like you mentioned before, and I think that's very, very crucial for the industry, especially when talking about early stage investments. And we always talk about what are the aspects of Israel being a startup nation, right? You have to have all the different pieces of an ecosystem being there, and part of that is investors. The other part is like the innovation, the Israeli Innovation Authority, providing funding, non-dilutive funding for technologies and so forth. So it's a lot of different aspects that need to evolve, and I think it does take a bit of time. But I think from what I see, what I hear when I'm talking, I see the industry is picking up, and there you see more and more players coming inside at different places, and that will actually, at the end of the day, will contribute to the industry getting to the right place.
Oded, Tachlis, last question.
Yeah.
I'm an early stage startup. You're an investor. What are you looking for?
Well, first of all,
and what do you offer?
First of all, we look at the people. First and foremost, we want to see a team and that are very entrepreneurial, that have the ability to execute. We invest not in a PowerPoint. We invest in a company that's already being able to execute vision to some kind of product. I don't expect them to have a 100% build product or solution, but something there. Yeah, and some traction in the market, and the potential to maybe disrupt the market, to accelerate their market traction, and my ability to help them. Because if I can't help them, then we're not looking to put in just capital. We're looking for a partnership.
Amazing. Okay. Dima, Izhak, Oded, and Uri, thank you so much. It was really interesting talking to you this morning. And